I've got a couple amazing knit skirts that are pull up, they're straight fit. The best is that you can have little splits in different sections wherever you want. They're just so easy to whip up. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I have some knit skirts to share. Lately I've reintroduced myself into wearing longer skirts. I have made a few in the last few months too actually. I've been really enjoying having that style back in my life after ignoring long skirts for pretty much 2 decades. The pattern I've used this time is brand new from Pattern Emporium and it's called Slay All Day skirt. Kate, the designer, she comes up with the best names for her patterns. This is a straight skirt, it's not a pencil skirt, it's not an A-line, it goes straight from the hip down. And you have different length options here. One is above the knee, then you have a midi length and a long length. And then you have some slit options. You can have slits on the side, either 1 or 2. You can have slits in the center front or the center back or both. And the one I like the most is the one on the side front, so sort of running down your thigh. I've always loved a long skirt with a little slit. I think having a long skirt but also showing some leg works really well with my height and my proportions. So yeah, I'm always really happy to have some type of opening on a skirt and not just have it go all the way down to the floor without showing any part of the leg. That's just what I like. You can choose whatever you want here. The slit is not extremely high. It's not like it's going to reach, you know, your groin. It's okay. You'll be able to be fine and not show much. There are 2 types of waistbands. One is narrow with an elastic inside that goes sewn on to the top of the skirt, and if you want to use that type of waistband, you can choose between a high rise and a low rise, so you'll find different cut lines on the pattern piece. Otherwise, you can use a curved shaped waistband. That one is going to reach your natural waist or around where your belly button is, around that area. That's the one that I always like. With this type of waistband, it's optional if you want to sew a little bit of elastic on the top seam. That might be necessary just depending on how much elastane your knit has and if it's going to keep your skirt up or not. So that is something that you need to see later on according to the knit fabric that you use. Because the Slay All Day skirt is a brand new pattern, it's 15% off through Monday the 5th of June noon time in Australia though, so that's around Sunday night the 4th of June, around this area, at least where I am. Whenever Pattern Emporium has a new pattern, they also add in other patterns that are also marked down 15% off that could go with the skirt. So I'll leave you all those links down below so you can see the release page where you'll find the skirt and all the other patterns that are also 15% off. For a lot of these, you'll find that I've already made them and have tutorials on them, so you can already have a bit of information about them if you want to get them as well. My affiliate link is in the description box of this video and the pinned comments. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but if you purchase through there, I make a small commission and that supports the work that I do here on YouTube. It's not designed for woven fabrics. Do not try to make this with a woven fabric. There's negative ease here, which means it's fitted. The skirt is smaller than your actual body measurements, so you do need stretch fabric that stretches horizontally and vertically. The amount of stretch recommended is from 50 to 100 and vertically at least 40%. What happens if you use a fabric that doesn't stretch vertically? Because there's negative ease, it'll stretch around you, but because it's not going to stretch vertically, it's going to end up riding up and you're having extra fabric above the full part of your hip. So not recommended. Make sure your fabric has at least 5% elastane so that the fabric stretches and then recovers back to its original shape. And here you can have a lot of fabric types that are going to work. This is one of the fabrics I'm using. It's a type of stretch velvet and it's so soft, got a bit of like a needle cord texture. And if you stretch it horizontally, it's very stretchy. I'd say about 60-70%, and also the vertical stretch is amazing. So I know this is going to be a nice hefty fabric bottom weight that's going to take negative ease really well, and it's got a really nice soft inside. So I'm excited to make a skirt out of this fabric. It'll be a workhorse. And I chose this athletic knit from my stash. It's a really unusual print. I'm going to think about how to cut it so I don't distort what's going on here too much. And it's also medium weight. It's not too drapey, not too stiff. But the best thing, it's got the required stretch. It'll be really, really nice to wear, comfortable. and it will stretch accordingly because it's negative V's in the skirt. So I think these two are really nice options for me. I have to have a print one. I really enjoy this one. Sizing goes from 4 to 30 Australian. That goes up to a 58 3/4 inch hip. To choose your size, measure yourself at the widest circumference. So some of us have a full hip that's a little higher, some of us a little lower towards the thigh. So whichever is the widest part on your body, use that measurement to choose your size. When you look at the hip measurements on each side, you'll see that there's a range. That means that it's not going to fit the same for everyone. It just depends on where your measurement is within that range. So for example, at my size, which is 18, it says a hip of 45 to 47. My hips are 46, right in the middle. So depending on where you are, you might have negative V's that's only half an inch negative V's, or it could go all the way up to 2.5 inches of negative V's. That's fine for the fabrics that we're using. We're using stretchy materials, so that is absolutely fine. For me and my circumference, I'm gonna get 1.5 inches of negative V's with the knit, and I'm very happy with that. I think that's how knits should fit. I think if you want it looser, I wouldn't go more than having 0 ease at the hips. That is something that you could adjust if you want to, maybe size up one size. But I would suggest against having positive ease with a knit, and a style like this is just gonna look really floppy and frumpy, and it's just not going to look good. I think these styles of skirts need to be close to the body, and the stretchy fabric is going to allow that little bit of negative ease and is going to make the fit nice. You'll find the finished lengths for all of the versions in the chart there. It's very detailed for you to see how long these end up being. And if you want to make these longer or shorter, you can adjust them in different areas. So if you find that the slit is too high, you would like the slit a little low, and you'd also like your skirt a little longer, adjust above the slit, you know, where the full hip is, but above the slit, add your length there. If you're happy with the length of that slit and you just want extra length, you can actually do this very easily from the hem down. It is a straight type of shape, so you don't need to worry about it flaring, nothing like that. Just add at the hem and you'll be fine. You won't need to change anything. I am going to add quite a bit of length to the long skirt that I want to make. You know, you have finished measurements there, and I know the length that I need for my height, everything. So I'm going to be adding a whopping 6 to 7 inches, and I'm just going to add it at the hem, and that's how I'm going to be happiest. For me, it's either a short above the knee skirt or a really long one, anything between, and I'm not feeling my best. And that's the best thing about sewing. You can choose to make things the length that make you feel the best. I love that. You can't do that in the shops. You just have to conform yourself to what you find. But that doesn't happen when we sew because we can choose. For the sewing, I'm going to focus on general construction. There are a lot of very easy seams here, very straight seams. You'll just see how to finish the slit with the hem at the bottom. And I'll show you the waistband. It's just so easy. You can whip up quite a few of these in a few hours. When I was getting ready, I was just really excited to get these done because I know they're not going to take days and days to make. They're going to be quite easy. I had to choose some of the options. There are so many, there's no way I can make 10. So I've chosen to do a simple back. One of these is going to have a slit on the thigh, on the side front, and another one is going to have a slit in the center front. That's what you'll see. What you also see is a mix of sewing machine and serger. For both of my skirts, I'm just going to be using a simple back cut on the fold. So this is my back piece there. You also have an option of a back with a slit down the center. You also have a back that has a slit down the side. So there's a lot of options. The slits are sewn all in the exact same way. It's just that they're placed in different sections. But for my two versions, this is just a simple back. I'll have no opening on the back. For my long black version, I'm using the one that has a slit down the thigh, so sort of offset to the side. So this would be the center of the front and the slit would be over there. So there's pattern pieces for that. The important thing is that if you're sewing this version, you need to cut your fabric right sides up and have the pattern piece right sides up so that it ends up down your left leg. You have these little notches right there marking where the slit is going to stop. I have pins right there. So basically this would be sewn from here down to there, and then from there down it would be open. I'm going to sort out the slit first right there, then put my back right on top and just sew side seams. This is the black skirt I'm sewing with the slit that is offset to the side. I've got it wrong sides up. I've sewn all the basic seams that I need, which are pretty straight seams, quite boring to watch actually. I've got side seams sewn right there and the section that comes from the waist down to the slit. After sewing the side seams, I serged the bottom, so that was ready, and I folded my hem up first, and then I folded the slit slit that way. The seam allowance for the split is only 5/8 and the hem is a little bigger at 1 and something. There are different amounts right there, but it's still neat at the bottom. This is stretch velvet. It's super duper slippery. There's no way I could pull this off with just pins. Even for the side seams, I did hand baste those down before sewing because the fabric was sliding everywhere. I'm going to show you something around the seam allowances in this section, but I'm going to change that for the second version. You can see that from the top down to where the slit starts, the seam allowance up here is smaller. It's 1/4 inch, and then it goes gradually a little larger up here. So basically the way that you're meant to sew it is that you just have a small section that is sewn with a sewing machine and where you would have the seam allowance open, but then you would pick it up like this and then serge together from here on up, and that's how the slit would be finished. And I could see how that would be faster if you're making 10 skirts, but I just always prefer to have my seams fully opened. I don't want any section together like that. So even though the seam allowance on the top is tiny, I still serge the edges separately first and just sewed from the top down to there, reinforced, and just have it open all the way. But for my second one, I am going to correct the seam allowance on the top so that it's 5/8 inch all the way from the top to the bottom. That'll be easy, and I'll still press the seams open. I want to show you what I want to do different with this split, and it's just the way that you sew the area above the split. This example has the split in the center front, but if it was on the side or the offset one, whatever, it would all be the same for me. This is the top, this is where the waistband is going to be, and you have a smaller seam allowance from here up to there, but then from the split down it goes bigger. Seam allowance is 5/8. I prefer to just have my seam allowance open all the way. So all I've done here is even out the seam allowance from there up to there, 5/8, just to match it up, and it's going to be the same thing from the top to the bottom. So you can see I've done a little black line over there. That means that my seam allowance will be the same from top to bottom, 5/8. And I can just sew this with my sewing machine and press the seam open all the way up to the top. So you can see I have a little extra fabric there just to compensate because the seam allowance was originally smaller here. To sew the split and the hem, I'm using a narrow zigzag. It looks almost like a straight stitch because this fabric has a nap and a texture. The thread sort of sinks into it so you can't really see it. I really didn't want to use a twin needle for this. I want it to be as invisible as possible. And this section has already been sewn. You can see that the stitching line there is barely noticeable, and that's what I want with this skirt. If there's a choice on a pattern, I always prefer the curved waistband. I just think it feels so much nicer on. It conforms to my shape a little bit more. So these are the curved waistband pieces. For this one, I'm using the main fabric, which is the white one on the top for the outer layers, and you have facing pieces which will go inside. Now the only difference with these are that these are a tiny bit shorter than those. So when you sew this onto the skirt, that will make the seam that unites them on the top roll to the inside and you won't see it. I am using a contrast for the inside. This is just cotton spandex, and this is me trying to give the waistband a little bit more structure, and also saving on the main fabric because I have quite a little bit left over for another garment. Just put them right sides together and sew these little side seams, and then you put one inside the other and sew on the top. It's a round seam and that unites the waistband. It's super easy. I'm just using the sewing machine for this. 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is a waistband that you'll find on leggings, on some pants. It's a really nice curved waistband. I've already sewn the little seams, and here you can see the difference between the inner layer and the outer layer, how this one's a little shorter. When we pull these together, the two raw edges to sew onto the skirt, that will make the seam from the inner layer roll to the inside. And I've just got this on the round, right sides together, and I'm sewing on the top. I'm using a little zigzag stitch. You'll see it much better right here. 2 stitch length, 2 stitch width, and this will allow a lot of stretch so I can pull it on over my hips. If you have fabric that's a little floppier, you could add an elastic in here, a clear elastic. I don't think I need that, so I'm not doing that. So I'll just finish this. Once this is all sewn, then we just flip it like this, and we'll have our waistband. Now, when you align the raw edges, as I said, because the inner layer is a little shorter, it's just going to help this roll to the inside like that. So when you see it from the outside, you're not going to see the inner layer. For this one, you can see that I evened out the seam allowance in the center front seam that will have the split. So it's 5/8 all the way from the bottom up to the top. It doesn't get narrower here. And that's just because I like to have my seam allowance pressed open. That's just personal preference. The skirt looks exactly the same. After assembling this waistband, all I did was slide my skirt underneath, matching the front with the back, matching the side seams of the waistband with the side seams of the skirt, and the center front and the center back. And the waistband is a little smaller. As you can see here, there's a little bit of excess. So when we sew these together, you'll stretch the waistband to match as we go. Super easy. I'll just do that directly on the serger. You've seen me do this before. It's quite easy. And then the skirt's done. This is my first lay all day skirt. It's the one I made as per the pattern. I only lengthened it a lot, so it's a lot longer, but otherwise it is the same pattern, size 18. This is the one that has the split on the front, but not in the center, offset to the side. Love those. And it's a stretch velvet. There is a nap in this fabric, so I made sure to cut the front and the back, every piece in the same way. And you can tell that it's got a texture like needle cord, but it's not cord at all. And look how stretchy this is. It stretches vertically, horizontally very well. It can take the negative ease perfectly. And here is the curved waistband on the top. For this one, I used the contrast cotton lycra inside just to save on the main fabric. And also this fabric feels a little more structured, feels like it gives you a little bit more support in your tummy. That's why I like doing that. And here is the seam, and here is where the split starts. You'll see the split better when I wear it because you'll see my leg. It's not too high. It's a little above the knee. I like that. And it's pretty long. Very uninteresting to see because it's all black, but I really loved making it. I started wearing long skirts and dresses just a little while back. I really wanted a staple black one that's fitted with a slit. It's just a style I didn't have. So I had a lot of fun styling it. You'll see it in different ways. This is my first lay all day skirt from Pattern Emporium. I made a size 18. I chose the longer length and added about 6 extra inches to get a really long length. If I was barefoot, it wouldn't reach the floor. A split that is offset to one side. I really love that, and I don't think it's too high. I'm wearing it here with just a loose ITY top. I think loose tops are fine with these types of skirts that are more fitted. There's a little bit of negative ease at the hips here, in my case about 1.5 inches. And I love the colors of the top with the red, the white, the gray. Love it with the black. It's a classic. This is something I could wear when it gets a little hotter. Got some nice little sandals with a heel. I don't wear flats. You always see me in a heel, but these are super comfy to walk in, and the top is nice and breezy. Here is another look I could wear when the weather is a bit hotter. My heel's still super comfy to walk with. I have a loose athletic knit top. I'm all about comfort, and for me, wearing a top like this is so nice, and I think the fitted skirt underneath really balances it out. I wouldn't wear a loose top like this with a really wide type of skirt or pant, but I think this is perfect, and this style of skirt is going to be a workhorse. Stretch velvet is so nice. It feels amazingly soft on, and the texture of the fabric is very pretty, and I really love it. And I know this black is going to go a long way. Okay, here is my black skirt again, but a little bit more out there. I have some blue sneakers, leather, and I've paired it with a crossbody bag in blue. I've got my all-in shirt from Pattern Emporium, just worn open, like a light topper and a cami inside. And I wanted to show you this curved waistband. It's one of the options of the skirt. There's other waistband options that are rectangles with an elastic inside, but I always like the curved waistband. I could be very comfortable and walk around all day in this outfit, and a little bit out there, but I would totally wear this. Here is the same skirt, but for winter. I've got some really nice leather boots there. I think a split like that really shows off the boots. And I've styled it with my Sweet Cheeks sweater, which is really oversized in a houndstooth sweater knit. Again, the oversized item on the top is balanced with the slim style of the skirt, and I really love it. I feel really good in this one. Just a burst of color in green there, and this is a great winter outfit for me. Here is another winter outfit with a sweater that's got a print in burgundy and white. I've actually got these burgundy boots that go with it and a burgundy bag. I think the print in the sweater, the only color I could really pair it with was navy or black, and this black skirt is just gonna serve me so well. Again, this is a loose sweater. It's nice and roomy, comfortable to wear, and the fitted skirt really balances it out. The split that shows the leg is just everything for me. I love that because this is my way of transitioning into longer skirts when I've been used to just wearing short skirts for decades. Here is my second Slay All Day skirt. This is an athletic knit with a really interesting print. It's usually the type of print I wouldn't want to break up with a seam because it would really distort it. So I think the side splits were more suited for this fabric, but I really wanted this one on the center front. I just think it shows the leg a little bit more. I managed to cut it in a way to match this print. So there is a seam going right through there. And I felt that was gonna make the skirt make sense, even though it doesn't match up here or anything. Other than the slit being in the center, I did even out the seam allowance, so it's 5/8 of an inch all the way up. I have the same type of waistband, same type of cotton lycra inside. At this point, I can just match it up with black because I don't have anything in these tones right here. It's like a type of terracotta brick color, and this is an off-white, which is a color I really don't wear. So I was able to style this up 2 ways for now, one for winter, one for summer. So let's see. Here is my second Slay All Day skirt from Pattern Emporium. I made a size 18. I chose the longer length and added about 6 extra inches. This is a really nice athletic knit. It was really hard for me to cut up that print in the center. I did manage to match that up pretty well, so I'm very happy with that. It's a really cool print, very unusual. I've just got a black top with an embroidered knit. That's really nice. I like that mid-hip length with this type of skirt. You know, the top has a bit of ease because the skirt is nicely fitted. I think it works really well. I made the split on this one in the center a little bit longer than what the pattern had, maybe an inch. The split is not too high. It's perfect. It lets you show off your sandals. Again, these are really comfy sandals. Love it like this for summer. This is the same Slay All Day skirt from Pattern Emporium in my athletic knit. The print here is sort of hard to style. I don't have many options here other than black because that off-white is not a color that I usually wear or have any items. Styled more for cooler weather. I've got a sweater here that's sort of transparent and sort of crochet type, and I've got a fitted cami underneath and a scarf, my long boots. I think this is great for autumn, which I'm in right now. I've got a curved waistband on this one as well, which is so comfortable. It follows your shape very well and gives you nice support here on the tummy, and this is going to be a great winter outfit for me. It doesn't really get too cold here, so this is perfect. And I love the long length of the skirt with the boots. For me, it's either a long skirt like this or a short one. There's no in between for me, and I really love the split because it allows you to show the leg a little bit, which makes me happy. I'm so happy with my skirts. This is not a pattern that is seasonal. It's not a winter pattern or it's not a summer pattern. It just depends on the fabric that you use and the way that you style it, how much you layer underneath, the type of footwear you want to combine. So I love them. I know I'm going to be wearing these long skirts a lot. I feel great in them. I don't see these as formal wear, office wear, that type of thing. You can dress these down a lot. So I think everyone can wear a skirt. I know not everyone wears skirts, but I think it's a garment that could be really practical if you just find a way to make it work. I'm a huge skirt wearer. I'm always in a skirt. Usually when I go out the door, I'm in a skirt and I feel really great. So these projects that were so easy made me really, really happy. Remember that the Slay All Day skirts and other patterns are 15% off through Monday noon, but in Australia, that's the 5th of June. But over here in this other part of the world, it'll be around Sunday night. That's all from me. I hope you go make yourself some cute skirts. I'll see you again very soon on this channel with more sewing. Bye.